And it's also important to remember that just because it's history doesn't mean it's accurate history. Because it has been proven over and over and over again, whoever wins the war rewrites history. They write it to their benefit, to glorify them. Look at how we've treated our Earth. Look at how we've trashed it ourselves. They're like, why should we come down here and help you when you don't want to even help yourself? Or even make the effort? The cleaning up the planet we're giving to government bureaucracies. Well, here's $3 billion here. There's $10 billion there. Here's the super fund to clean up toxic waste, $20 billion. And the place is getting worse. That's not the problem. The problem is on an individual level, on an individual basis. Just don't create plutonium anymore. Just don't create styrofoam anymore. Just tell the industries, the corporations, because we're the ones who control it. We're the ones buying the products. We won't buy it unless you fix it. End of story. Period. We need to change it. It's our planet. We are the bulk of humanity. It isn't the corporations. It isn't the Fortune 500. It isn't the Committee for 300. And it isn't the Trilateral. We could fire all of them if we had to. Period. But it's coming together and it's doing something about it. And it's going to have to be grassroots, and people are going to have to start doing it soon.
Are these leaders going to, if we do raise up and do a grassroots uprising, wouldn't they order the military to quell that like they do at Kent State or any other political demonstration?
They probably will try. They probably will try. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But you know what? Let's take an example of the American Revolutionary War. 4% of the population of the colonies actually rose up and fought the British. Only 4%. The rest stayed home, stayed in the pubs, drinking ale, doing whatever, and waited to see who would end the war, to see who would win. And then when we won, everybody wanted to take credit for it. But it was really only 4%. Those heroes. And those 4% changed the face of the world. Well, 210, 12 years, whatever it is now, we're right back at the same place where we're being called to do exactly the same thing.
But the paradox here, Alex, would be then that if we begin to war against ourselves, that's going to exactly fuel the whole fire that's going on.
Maybe for a brief time it would. Until one side surrendered or saw the light. Do you know much about the New World Order? Do you know that they're building concentration camps to put millions of people in? Do you know that the United Nations has got 300,000 troops in the United States right now that they're going to use to confiscate weapons? And they're selling our active military troops, sending our active military troops out of the United States so they won't be here when this happens? Are you aware that that's going on? Do you know that just off the coast of just south of the border in Veracruz, there are 300 tons of Soviet military equipment ready to invade? I mean, this is that there are states actually wanting to secede from the Union? Yes. Yes, there are 9 different regions. The United States has already been designated to be split up. They're getting ready to totally dismantle the United States of America. And the only real part of the United States of America, and I get so angry with this, is Washington, D.C., 68 square miles. That's really all that is the United States. We are in the Republic of Arizona. People in California are in the Republic of California. It is those separate republics that make up a United States. Washington, D.C. has totally manipulated everything. We're no longer the United States, what the forefathers founded. It isn't that at all. And in 1992, the Congress approved the UN Charter. Well, what people aren't aware of, because it wasn't printed in the press, in the newspapers, in our controlled media, is that because it's a treaty, it supersedes the Constitution of the United States. The UN Charter is now the law of the land, not the Constitution anymore. And in the UN Treaty, Articles 55 and 56, look it up, folks, prove me wrong, state that the United States Congress no longer has to abide by the U.S. Constitution. As of 1992, the United States of America ceases to exist. They just haven't told the people yet. And they're not going to tell them until after they have outlawed all weapons, after they have totally regulated the Second Amendment and taken everybody's firearms away, so you can't fight, so you can't stand there and be free. Right, we need to. And the first thing we need to do is we need to stop warring with each other. We need to come together as a race, and no matter what happens, we need to stop all of the political garbage and say, look, when it comes down to the bottom line, all we have is each other as a race. Period. And this is our planet, this is our home, and there's enough of us that are polluting the planet that we need to stop. Because if we don't stop polluting the planet, Rick, we're not going to have a place to live. Period. Like we do here. They don't throw somebody in the street because they don't have a paper, which is really what it is. You know, the only value on it is what we believe it is. They just don't have that. You know, they don't let children starve. They don't feed grain to cattle that feed 20% of the population and let the other 25% that need the grain starve. It's unconscionable. They would never even think to do that. But we do it here. $4, for money, for power.
That's part of that conditioning process that's been going on 5,700 years.
That's part of it. But the responsibility is that there are people that know what's going on and they play the game anyway. They don't have the courage to say, look folks, let's deal with the realities here. You know, we don't have a guy that's strong enough in office as president to stand up and say, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, we've really been sold out. That there are forces within our government, like what Kennedy tried to do, that just flat out want to destroy the United States because we're too good, because we have too much. Instead of raising the consciousness and the life, everyday life, what's the word I'm looking for? A standard of living of instead of raising the standard of living that we have globally, they would rather just destroy the United States, destroy our standard of living so that we're comparable to everybody else. So now everywhere is a third world nation. And that's exactly what they're doing. And they're doing it for power, for greed. We're selling out our own, and it's just, something's got to be done. This apathy's got to end, otherwise the way we live is going to end. Period. I mean, that's the bottom line. You know, and I'm not coming from a fear space. I'm really quite angry about the apathy and the fact that, you know, when people give lectures and try to tell this, people want to stand up and fight with them. Look at what's happening around us. The indications are everywhere. Everywhere. The truth is now an obscure thing. The lie is the norm. There's something wrong here. What's wrong with this picture? It's not working as quickly as they want simply because most people are incredibly apathetic. They're stuck in their 9 to 5. I have to make my mortgage payment. My kid's got to get to school in the morning, and I don't give a damn about anything else. And unfortunately, that isn't going to work. It isn't going to save you. It isn't going to protect you. There's so much more going on here. You know, and we are just one small part of this whole picture that's going on. And we have to wake up. Period.
What would help push it forward?
I don't know. I really don't know. Except for just, you know, start listening to people that are talking. Start really paying attention to what's going on. You know, my grandfather used to have a saying, believe nothing that you hear and half of what you see. You know, I wouldn't believe a thing that comes out of Washington, D.C. In fact, it's my own personal belief that this next election that's coming up next year in November, that every American should march on Washington, D.C. and should fire every single person that's there. They have run this country into the ground. They have totally sold us out to the United Nations for a buck, for the debt. And, even the monetary system, it's just a belief system. We could change that tomorrow if we wanted to. I mean, we're so intelligent, we could create something different, but we're believing, oh, we've got to have this money. Duality. And I think enough of us, more of us, really need to start taking the perspective that what we're doing here isn't right. We need to get in touch with what's out there, with just the whole idea that, God, how did we get here? What makes me be here? As opposed to going home after work, turning on TV, watching 3 hours of television, going to bed, getting up the next morning, going to work, and doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, like robots. Throw the televisions away. Just throw them away. I don't necessarily know. I don't know, but the violence is desensitizing. Violence is just a way of life now. We've been taught that. We've been programmed that violence is just a way of life. So when we see really violent acts, oh, that's too bad. Well, honey, what's on Channel 7? Or what movie are we going to rent tonight? That's what it's come to. And it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. There is no reason that any of this has to occur at all. It really doesn't. And a lot of it is the responsibility of the people. Because if the producers in Hollywood are going to make movies like this, and we're going to go and buy the tickets, well, they're going to be motivated for the buck to continue to make these kind of movies. Where if they spend $20 million and nobody buys a ticket, they won't be making those kind of movies. So it comes back to people taking personal responsibility for what they think, what they want to believe, and what it is that they want to create.
What the Road Club is and who comprises it, and offer some specific examples of how they're controlling the rest of us. The banking circles, maybe?
Yeah, it all evolves around money. The World Bank, International Monetary Fund. I mean, they've got the whole world in debt. Governments are giving away their mineral rights in perpetuity. The United States government is now in a position to declare a national state of emergency, suspend the Constitution of the United States, and nationalize. And the reason they will have to nationalize is because our debt far exceeds any ability to pay it back.
So who are the collectors? What countries are the collectors?
It's not a country, it's a group of men. It's a group of human beings.
It's a group of...
That's not karmic at all. A lot of these, all this metaphysical stuff, where you chose to be here. A lot of, in some situations that's true. When you're creating your reality and in your space. But when you're being invaded, that's not karma. That's a violation of free will. And I'll go back to that little saying. The love that you withhold is the pain that you carry. We have got to start coming together as a race. We have got to stop allowing ourselves to be manipulated.
To us, we should look at all this information in the spirit of love, so we don't feed any energy into the spirit of fear.
Love is the answer. That's the bottom line. Love is the answer. Love does conquer all. Love does move mountains. It can make the shifts in consciousness, but it starts number one with ourselves.
So
that's
even
where
all this is going on around us, we just need to remember to focus on love. And
love of self and love of earth, love of race. That's right.